In this exercise, you will practice adding your own custom styles. I will walk you through creating and linking a custom external style sheet. You will also learn about using Google Web Fonts, and you'll learn about Bootstrap alignment classes as well. We'll be working again with the same index.html file. Underneath the link to the Bootstrap CSS file, we're going to add our own custom styles.css file. The order here is important. You must link the styles CSS file after the Bootstrap CSS. This ensures that it will override it correctly. We will also be overriding the Bootstrap default font with a couple of other fonts. I've chosen a couple that Google has made available, and I will link them here. Now these fonts, Open Sans and Lobster, are not automatically available in all browsers. By linking them here, this allows us to use these fonts. There are some default web fonts that are safe to use without needing to link them like this. But there are also many other fonts that can be linked from Google and other sources. If you want to check out more Google fonts, visit fonts.google.com. Next, we will add a custom class named row-content to each of the 3 main content row divs, like this. This is a custom class that we will set up next. It's not a Bootstrap class, and right now it doesn't actually exist because we haven't made it yet, so it doesn't do anything just yet. Inside our project folder, we're going to create a new folder. I'll just do this from right inside VS Code like this, and name it CSS. Inside this folder, we'll create a new file and call it styles.css. The .css extension is required, but the name styles is arbitrary. We're just using it because it's short and it makes sense, but it could be named something else. Though of course it must match the name of the CSS file that we added in index.html. Let's write some CSS rules into this file. First, we'll define a CSS rule for the body element. And here we'll define a default font for the body, Open Sans. This second font, sans serif, is the font that the browser will use if for some reason it cannot load the Open Sans font. Next, let's write another CSS rule with this selector, h1, h2, h3. When you use commas like this between selectors, that means that the declaration block beneath it will apply to all 3 of these elements. And in that declaration block, we will define another font that will apply to these 3 elements. From my Bash terminal, I'll type npm start to view the web page. So we can see that the 2 fonts have been applied. This next selector will be for h2 elements, and we'll give this a color, which will apply to the text inside all h2 elements on this page. For this next rule, I will write header space h2. And what that does is, it will target only the h2 elements that are descendants of header elements. So it will target this h2, but not the h2s down here. We will also create a custom CSS rule for the footer element. We'll give it a basic linear gradient for its background image. And we'll give it 20 pixels each for top and bottom padding, and 0 padding for the left and right sides. Next, we will customize the Jumbotron. Up to now, all these CSS rules that we've written have been for HTML elements. Now, Jumbotron is a Bootstrap-defined class, but we can still write custom rules for it here. And for that custom rule, we'll add a padding. This means to pad 30 pixels on all 4 sides. And we'll also give this a linear gradient that goes from left to right with 3 color stops. And we'll also set the default font color to white. But now that we've given the Jumbotron a background color, if you look closely, you'll see that the default rounded corners are showing up. In order to get rid of the rounded corners, we'll go back to index.html into the header class, and next to the Jumbotron class, we'll add this class Jumbotron-fluid. And that will straighten out the rounded corners. And finally, let's create a custom class named row-content. In this class, we'll set the padding to 50px space 0. And what that says is we want 50 pixels on the top and bottom and 0 pixels on the left and the right. We'll also add a border-bottom style with a thickness of 1 pixel, and we'll make it a ridge type. And we'll give this class a minimum height of 200 pixels. And here's what that page should look like now. There are many different ways to handle alignment in CSS and Bootstrap. We will just go over a few of them now, but you're highly encouraged to check out the Bootstrap documentation and read about other ways as well. Let's add this Align Item Center class to each of the 3 content rows. The Align Item Center class is used on rows, and it will center all the columns inside that row vertically. A couple of related classes are Align Items Start and Align Items End. If you only want to change the vertical alignment of a single column, you can use an Align Self class. You can read about these in the Bootstrap documentation. Next, what I'd like to do is change the alignment on this text here, so that on small and up viewports, when this column is pulled to the right, the text here is also aligned to the right. We can do that by going to these H2 elements and adding this responsive Bootstrap class, text-sm-right. This will make the text in this element align itself to the right on small and up viewports. And be sure to set that on the 3rd set of content as well. Finally, we will add just one more text alignment class. In the div right above the social H5 element, we'll add this Bootstrap class, Text Center. I didn't specify a breakpoint, so this class will apply to all viewport sizes. We'll apply the same Text Center class to the final column in the footer as well. We're now finished with this exercise. You'll want to verify that your index.html page now looks similar to this.